What's up guys, it's Cody. Today I'm talking about 3 major developments that are happening in Salt Lake County that you need to know about if you're considering making a move here to Utah. You're going to want to know about these developments and keep an eye on them and how they progress over the coming months and even the coming years, since these are large-scale developments, to see how it's going to affect the local community here. There's a lot of people who are moving here to Utah, perhaps like yourself, and that's causing a massive amount of growth here in the state. This is causing the government and other local officials as well as developers and builders to really consider what type of proposals they're accepting on these major redevelopments. You have to worry about traffic and you have to worry about overdevelopment. So I want to share these 3 developments with you because I think they're going to be important as to how the outlook of development looks here in Salt Lake County and how things change over the next 10, 15, even 20 or 30 years. So as we jump into this, make sure to watch all the way till the end because number 3 is going to be the most controversial that you'll want to know about. And also make sure to get in touch with me if you're thinking about making a move here. Call me, text me, email me, get a hold of me any way that you need to so we can have a chat about the type of home and lifestyle that you're looking for. I cover more than just the Salt Lake County area. I cover everything from Ogden all the way down to Spanish Fork and everything in between. So if you're making a move here, get in touch with me. I'd love to chat with you. All right, so number 1 on our list is going to be the old prison site. So Salt Lake City has a new prison that's being developed. It's being built out by the airport and it's going to be a whole brand new facility. The old prison site, which is currently located in Draper, is going to be torn down and will be developed over the next 10, 15, I think even up to 30 years before it's completely done. This is a unique piece of land because it sits on over 700 acres and it's a massive once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a few different reasons. The first reason is because it sits right in the heart of the Silicon Slopes. The Silicon Slopes covers everything on the southern half of Salt Lake County and the northern half of Utah County. So right here at Point of the Mountain is what they call it, is considered the Silicon Slopes. This is right in the heart of that space. The second reason is because it's in Draper, which is a very well-known city with a lot of growth and a lot of opportunity. And the third reason, this is over 700 acres and 100% of it is owned by the state. This isn't owned by farmers. It isn't owned by one person who has this land or maybe a conglomerate of people that own this land. It's all owned by the state, and so they have a little bit more discretion as to how they would like to see it be developed. Now this is still a couple of years out at least because the new prison isn't slated to be done until June of 2022. So we've got at least a couple of years to prepare, but some of these early concepts are showing about 105 acres worth of green space and over 5,000 residential units. Most of these homes are going to be high density, so it's going to include a lot of condos, townhomes, and maybe some single family homes on very small lots. This isn't going to be your place where you find large sprawling lots with huge homes on them. However, I do want to touch on what this means for you. I think there could be a really good opportunity to invest in this area or any of the surrounding areas because you're going to see a ton of massive growth. The Silicon Slopes is growing like crazy right now. There's a ton of tech companies who are moving into this space and I don't see that slowing down. So I think there's going to be a ton of growth and a lot of people are going to want to live close to where they work. So I think it provides massive opportunity for the long-term outlook as well as a great place to live in a new home. The second development on our list is going to be called Holliday Hills. This is the site of the old Cottonwood Mall in the center of Holliday. Now, Holliday is one of those cities that is very exclusive and it is pretty expensive to live there. There's a lot of very high-end luxury homes in Holliday, but there's also a good selection of median-priced homes there. And the unique thing about Holliday is that, in my opinion, there's actually a lot of people who have lived there for many, many years. This is the site where, you know, your grandma and grandpa move into it and they live there for 40 years. They lived there their entire life, and that's kind of all they've ever known. The old Cottonwood Mall was really considered too run down to be renovated, and so they tore down most of it and were going to build new buildings around it to kind of make a lifestyle center. However, that was in like 2007, 2008, right before the last recession, and the company who was planning on doing that actually went bankrupt. So nothing's ever happened with this site. It's basically been sitting there for the last 12 years or so. There's a Macy's building that just recently closed down a couple years ago, and I mean, you've got 56 acres of land here that's basically just sitting empty. You know, it's an eyesore and people want to see it developed, but they want to see it developed in the right way. Now, the interesting thing about all of these developments is you've always got people who are against them and you've always got people who are for them. There's always going to be somebody who has an opinion about what they want to see done with the space, and you can never make anybody happy. Now, this one has been a little bit more controversial, and they've actually been working on this plan for the last couple of years as to what to do with this site. You know, how tall the buildings will be, how many units they're going to put there, what types of shopping and retail are going to go in this space. And I think it has a little bit to do with the demographic of Holliday itself. You know, you do on average have a older demographic and typically a little bit wealthier. Now, that is changing. There are younger families moving into the area, but it is still an expensive part of town here in Salt Lake County. So because of that, that means that the land and the development costs more in this area. And so the builders and developers are wanting to put in higher end stuff. And then you've got all these residents who are saying, well, who can afford that stuff? You know, we can't do that. And so there's been this battle back and forth as to people saying, well, we need cheaper stuff. And the builders saying, well, we can't develop that and build it and have it make sense for us. You know, like at the end of the day, the builder is there to make money and to improve the community and give us something that's a lasting result of what they're doing. So it's kind of, you know, this process of meeting both sides and coming to an agreement on what can be built there. Luckily, just recently in the past, 6 months to a year, they've kind of come to an agreement here and construction has really started. They're going to be tearing down the old Macy's building and they're starting to demo the land, put in a lot of the utilities and a lot of the infrastructure that needs to go there. So a little bit about the space. It's going to be about 58 acres like I mentioned. They're planning to put in about 600 or so residential units and they're planning on about 750,000 square feet of commercial space. They're even talking about putting in some really cool penthouse condos, and they're not going to be cheap, but they will be there, and they could actually be a really cool option if you've got the money and if that's your style. I think the most important thing with this development is people want to see it developed and they want to see something done with the land. The city has also said in the past, look, the Cottonwood Mall was essential to our tax revenue for the city of Holliday. When the city of Holliday was incorporated, they said, look, we need this tax revenue from the mall, and that's basically been non-existent for like the last 20 years or so. And so getting something done with the land is going to provide some much needed tax revenue for Holliday and will continue to keep it a very nice place here in Salt Lake County. Let's move on to number 3. All right, before moving on to the most controversial one, make sure to give me a thumbs up here on the video if you made it this far, and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel to get updates on what it's like to live here in Salt Lake City. Click that button down below and click that bell so you get notified when I release new videos just like this one. All right, so number 3 on our list is Olympia Hills. This is a massive development that's going to be going on west of the city of Harriman. Now, the thing that you need to know about Harriman is that it has absolutely exploded in growth over the last 20 to 25 years. This was a major part of Salt Lake County where there was still a ton of land to be developed, and it was still relatively close to the downtown area and a lot of the other areas that were more developed where people were working. So this was the opportunity for people to get outside of the city a little bit, have some land, have some privacy or space, and still be able to commute into work. However, that's not really the case anymore. This area is seeing massive growth and it's growing at a very rapid pace. Unfortunately, I think because of all this growth, they didn't have all of the infrastructure in place that they needed. So there's a lot of traffic, and I think there's just a lot of underdevelopment when it comes to the commercial and retail space. And so, people are kind of upset about that. They're still filling in a lot of this commercial development. There's still a need for a lot of those things, and it's getting better, but it's still there. So this Olympia Hills development that they're proposing would be over 930 acres of land that would be developed, and it would accommodate almost 6,300 housing units. This is a massive opportunity for a lot of housing units in a relatively cheap part of town to provide some much needed affordable housing. But at the same time, this one has been very controversial because a lot of the residents in that area are like, look, we can't handle, if you've got 6,300 housing units, that means that there could be 12,000, 15,000, even 20,000 people who are going to be there driving cars, walking, biking around, and they just can't handle that type of growth. So there's been, a lot of back and forth about this. The community there in Harriman has been fighting this very hard, but I think that it's probably going to go through and they probably will start development on it. So I hope that the city and the county will be able to provide some much needed infrastructure to help alleviate some of those concerns, such as making sure there's enough green space and also making sure that there's enough road and sidewalk space, to help keep traffic to a minimum. The unique thing about this space is it's mostly going to be all residential. Like I said, this is over 900 acres, which is kind of hard to imagine how much space that actually is. So we'll see where this one goes. But overall, guys, I think you need to keep an eye on these 3 developments, especially over the coming years, because it could provide a lot of opportunity, especially if you're looking to invest or maybe even buy a home in one of these areas. You know, this is going to kind of show how the landscape here in Salt Lake County adjusts, where the appreciation happens, and, you know, possibly also the areas where you want to be or maybe don't want to be. So with that being said, guys, make sure to get in touch with me if you're thinking about making a move here. As always, I love it when you guys reach out. I love hearing from where you're moving from, you know, what your plans are, and being able to share that excitement with you here in making a move to Salt Lake City so that you can come enjoy what we have to offer as far as job growth and all of the outdoor activities. So get in touch with me. My information's here on the screen. Call me, text me, email me. Make sure you give me a thumbs up here on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll catch you in the next one.